May 20th, 2026 Board of Commissioners meeting for Upper Allen Township. We're going to have a moment of silence followed by a pledge of allegiance to the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Could we have the roll call, please?
Commissioner Fairchild,
Present.
Commissioner Overly Smith, Commissioner Martin, Commissioner Walsh,
Present.
Commissioner Clark.
Present.
So I would like to announce that immediately, prior between 5:30 and 6 p.m., we had an executive session to discuss some real estate and legal matters. And this meeting will be live streamed for those who wish to attend virtually. A recording of the meeting will also be available afterward for anyone who cannot join in real time. If you wish to speak, please announce your name and address and speak clearly into the microphone. First up, we have consideration approval of the minutes of our Board of Commissioners meeting for April 15th, 2026. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
We have discussion, comments, or corrections to the minutes? We have a second?
Second.
Okay, so all those in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
Minutes are approved. Now we have our President's recognition of visitors. Oh, actually, before we do that, I missed one statement, which is that last week was National Police Week, honoring the service and sacrifice of law enforcement officers. And in the past year, I think they were particularly honoring the Northern York Regional Force for the unfortunate incident in York County last year. So that was last week, and this week is the National Public Works Week and National EMS Week, recognizing the individuals who maintain our infrastructure and those who provide critical, often life-saving emergency care. I also want to acknowledge the dedicated employees here in Upper Allen Township and our police, public works, and emergency services who serve our residents every day. Your work does not go unnoticed. To all of you, thank you for your service and your continued commitment to this community. So we have recognition of visitors, and this is a time for anyone who wants to speak to an item that is not on the agenda. And we did have a sign-in sheet, but is it Cheryl Ginter?
Yes.
Okay.
Theodore Long, 345 University Avenue, Grantham. I am the face of a letter that I will hand deliver momentarily. It chronicles my collision with a big sandy barrel on Bumblebee Hollow Road and what's followed. I affirm the township's repositioning of the sand barrels to where they stand today. If the barrels stood on March 4, where they stand today, I would not be here and there would be no letter. I invite your scrutiny. Thank you.
Cheryl?
Good evening and thank you. My name is Cheryl Ginther. I live in Rose Garden, Allen Township, of course. Just a couple of things. I was at Monroe Township's meeting last week because, of course, they're discussing the data center and the concern of all of that. And I know we're not very far from there. And so I know I know we're Upper Allen Township, it's a different township, but I also would like you to know the concerned residents that live very close to that area. That's number one. The second thing is the 80-some houses that have been approved to go in across from Ashcombe Markets. My understanding for the meeting is that There originally was supposed to be two roads coming out onto Grantham Road. PennDOT has changed their minds for whatever reason, and that's still being looked into. But the second road is going to go into Lucinda Lane, which Lucinda Lane goes through Rose Garden, and that's a lot of traffic. So my concern, there's a lot of children, there's people walk their dogs, it's just concerned about the traffic, so I want you to be aware of what's going on, and maybe you go to those meetings, I don't know. But I just wanted to ask about that. And then I asked this gentleman about, a while back, there was something being looked into for property underneath 15 where it had been a housing development on the other side of, right? And that would have come out onto the 2-lane road, which goes to the 3-way stop sign, which people go through all the time. And that'd be a lot more traffic. So I am concerned about the traffic issue there and all of the noise and all of the concern with that. So I just want to make sure that you all are thinking about those things. And I realize you can't make decisions on something that's not in your township. And then the last thing would be the stormwater. Monroe has decided to put their stormwater to a zero balance as of October. I believe they're not going to charge their residents. Now, this gentleman that was explaining something to me too about a first class and township and a second class. Yes. So I don't understand all of that, but as far as the stormwater, I would imagine you're looking into that as well, whether or not that would be something that would go away because they said it was illegal or whatever. I don't understand all of that. I'm sorry if I'm not saying everything correctly, but I do know that Monroe, as of October, is putting it to a zero balance for their residents.
Doing what as of October?
So, you know that right now I brought my stormwater bill. They're not going to charge their residents as of October for the stormwater piece. So if you know people there you can talk to, maybe someone can give you better information than I'm trying to give to you. But
I think they have like millions of dollars of stormwater projects that we seem to encounter every year. So,
anyway, I just wanted to ask about that.
But-
Thank you so much.
thank you.
Yeah, President Fairchild, I think they suggested that they would not get rid of the stormwater fee, but simply set it at zero. Right.
What, was that in response to the court case or just
was wondering.
their own
Yeah.
decision? I think you're probably an expert, sir, and you're shaking his head yes, so take your word for it. Thanks. I think that's it for everyone who wishes to speak at this point, unless somebody else has an issue. Next up, we have the consent agenda and consideration approval of staff reports. We have a manager's report, fire department report, police department report, EMS report, recreation department report, engineers report, and finance department report. Do we have any questions or comments on the report? Plural reports.
Move approval of them.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, the reports are approved. I did just want to comment, I noticed in the police report, there was a citation for a noise violation on Allendale Road. So there is, get a lot of comments about the noise ordinance. So there is some enforcement going on. So anyway, next we have consideration approval of bills in the amount of $207,114.52.
I move to pay the bills.
A second.
Second, any questions or comments? I would,
The biggest one.
Ken always chides me for the biggest one, which may be, we did make the payment for the Mechanicsburg pool of $50,000 to the borough. But the more notable, the interesting one was 3 inflatable monkeys for the park department for $4,211.
Kidding.
So we have diverse interest here in inflatable monkeys. So,
Was it a likeness? No.
so anyway, we ready to approve them? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the bills are approved. Next, we have financial security release for Meadowview Estates, Phase 6B, Lot 104, UAT file number 12-1-31. And
Yes.
We have a request in the amount of $7,004.80 for from Farinelli Construction. Our township engineer has reviewed the request and inspected the infrastructure. It's for a sidewalk along Lot 4 and recommends full release to a zero balance.
Mr. Chairman, I move to authorize the proper township officials to release the financial security to the developer for Meadowview Estates Phase 6B, Lot 104 Development, Upper Allen Township File 12-1-31. The developer will dedicate no part of the improvements to the township. Therefore, a maintenance bond is not required for these improvements.
Second.
All those in favor of releasing the financial security?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, security is released. Next, we have a financial security release for terraces at Shepherdstown, UAT file number 11-2-1C.
Yes, thank you. This is a request actually on the staff memo. There's a clerical correction. It should read instead of Farinelli Construction, it's a request from R.J. Fisher and Associates in the amount of $100,012 for the installation of improvements on that development. The township engineer has reviewed and inspected the request and the infrastructure and recommends release of the full amount with a remaining balance of zero.
Mr. Chairman, I move to authorize the proper township officials to release the financial security to the developer, R.J. Fisher, for the terraces at Shepherdstown, Upper Allen Township File 11-2-1C. The developer will decide, or the developer will dedicate no part of the improvements to the township. Therefore, a maintenance bond is not required for these improvements.
I second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Next, we have Public Safety Committee. Would that be Chief or Lieutenant Barnes?
Yes, good evening. This month, our department is training jointly with Messiah University's Department of Safety. I just want to publicly acknowledge the partnership we have with them has been really strong. They have opened their campus to us. They have been excellent in working on security plans for special events like commencement, where we partnered with them as well. But they've been gracious hosts in opening their facilities and allowing us to, do some realistic training, like firing off blanks and using fire alarms off in buildings. And so it's been very beneficial, realistic active assault training for officers. And it's great to be able to work with them in that partnership. So.
Thank you. Chief Schomburger.
Yes, as you can see from my report, April, we had 57 calls. Our average turnout per call was 5.72. Down a little bit. We were up at 8 over the winter, but dropped down a little bit. Vacations are starting and whatnot. So hope that turns back around. And then the other thing was July 6th is our next chicken barbecue.
All right.
Okay, thank you. So now we have planning and zoning. And the first matter up is consideration action of the preliminary final land division plan for 1924 Fisher Road, UAT file number PZ 2601-02. And I'm going to let our community development representative speak first.
Thank you, Commission. We wanted to review just briefly, provide an overview of the project, just orient everyone to the staff report. The subject site is located just on the south side of Fisher Road, and it is approximately plus or minus 3.5 acres in area. Their proposal is for the development of 19 single-family attached townhomes within the R2 residential zoning district. The project will also provide a private access drive and 48 parking spaces. The subject property is consistent with the zoning ordinance in the comprehensive plan. And for your reference, on the next, if we page down just a bit, Michael. The layout, we're providing a view of the layout on page 2, which shows the the site with Fisher Road off to the right, oriented to the right there with the access drive coming in, and then the 3 blocks of townhome units. If we page down a little bit further, there's a discussion of recreation. Currently, the applicant is proposing to provide $43,700 in terms of fee in lieu of providing a dedicated recreation land, which would typically be in the amount of 1 acre. Good page down. Thank you. In terms of stormwater, there is one element that the engineer has a comment on, and that's for your information, is in item number 13 in further down in the staff report. And there's an additional, may I use that? Is that okay? Okay, thank you. I'm taking control. And then also for your reference in the staff report, and for those of you who are following along, we have additional attachments that were provided by the applicant, their application, the rendering, a floor plan and elevations, fire truck turnaround, and a mailbox detail. For reference for the board, the application was submitted in December of 25. Currently, the board has a time limit date of June 23rd. So you have 2 additional meetings that this application could be heard on June 3rd and June 16th. And this is simply an overview of the different reviewing entities. And we wanted to point out that there are 3 deferral requests that the applicant is presenting for you. One is deferral of sidewalks along Fisher Road. The Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval in their March 30th meeting of that deferral. Staff, because of the proximity to Fisher Park and Friendship, offer that if the board wished to do so, it would be appropriate to provide for the installation during the current project construction. The same deferral relates to curbing along Fisher Road to be installed at a later date. Again, Planning Commission recommended approval. Staff is offering, should the board wish, that the installation of curb along with sidewalk could occur with the current project construction. Similarly, these would go hand in hand. The widening of Fisher Road, the applicant is requesting deferral. Staff is offering that it would be appropriate to consider the 4 feet that they are offering, up to 28 feet, as well, along with the installation of curb and sidewalk, should you so choose. There is a note that want to point out that our engineer identified that there are 2 utility poles further down in the comment section that would be under conditions for discussion. That there are 2 utility poles right at the taper of where any of the widening would occur, and that we would recommend for that to be addressed with the current project. There's one requested waiver that staff is in support of, and the Planning Commission also recommended approval. It's a waiver to requiring the implementation of water volume controls. And Jason with CS Davidson can also talk a bit more on that. Planning Commission overall recommended full approval. And just for reference, after you go through, the motions are re-identified for you with approve or disapprove in shortened version, as well as the suggested motion. And then finally, there's the overall plan of action. The conditions start, should you choose, they begin and are listed below, where it begins with the subdivision and land development and zoning. And the applicant is here to make a presentation. They have a drawing that we can pull up, and if you have any questions.
All good? Well, Michelle, you think you stole most of my thunder, but that's okay. You can have my job any day. So yeah, Michelle touched on most of the highlights. So if you guys have any questions regarding the project, I have with me tonight Jay Krieger from the engineering department, and then I have also Bradley Len, who's here to talk about stormwater. I know that was a major point of concern at the last meeting. So fire away.
So there was concern, interest in some of the commissioners in having a land dedication.
Yep.
In lieu of the fee.
Yep.
And some of us expected to see a revised plan showing a land dedication. And my understanding is the developer objects to making that land dedication, and I think disputes part of our ordinance and so forth. So your proposal is pretty much dead on arrival as far as I'm concerned, because I'm not seeing a lot of good faith to even talk about our own needs as a township. We've identified priorities. We've previously talked about the parcel being, very close to Fisher Park and also providing a connection to Friendship Park. So I don't know, really how to proceed.
Sure.
There is no willingness to even, talk about a land dedication. And
Well, I wouldn't go that far.
Okay.
The tract is only about 3.5 acres. So if we were to dedicate, according to the ordinance, a 1 acre portion of it, that's essentially a third of the parcel, which would make the project essentially not feasible. So given the proximity, like you mentioned, to Fisher Park and Friendship Park, and given the township's own recreation planning guidance, which favors the fee in lieu over these small isolated pocket parks, we believe that the $43,700 fee is more practical and more beneficial to the township. But we'll defer to you guys for comment on that.
Well, yeah, it seems like there's several things at play coming in terms of the proximity to the two parks and then, a corridor along Fisher Road. And then just the, how that sits with it. I'd actually like a little more communication and or admittedly time to look at this thing, because I'm not sure that we have exhausted all the possibilities of how we might, we're cramming a lot in a small sack, but that's not your problem. I mean, as long as you heed our ordinances and our requirements, I understand that, but I, for one, would like to see a little bit more communication on this one, Mr. Chairman.
Could I make a motion that we table this until a June meeting so we can get more information and take more time with the decision?
Yeah, I'd second that. There's no discussion on the table.
What's that?
okay.
You have a,
Can we ask for one thing before we make the motion to table? What kind of communication are you guys looking for from us between now and the next meeting? And then any other feedback on any of the other comments?
that's a fair statement. That'll come later, but I believe in parliamentary procedure, when there's a motion and a second to table a plan, there is no debate or discussion on that motion.
Should I not make it in time? I think I missed it. What'd you say?
Not at a table.
I would offer that I think we expect you to talk to our solicitor. So all those in favor of tabling?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Table. Thank you.
And I believe the motion just, did you state that to a motion in June?
To a June
Yeah.
meeting, yeah.
Are you okay, Mr. Solicitor?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Next, we have approve advertising for a public hearing to vacate a portion of Old Hollow Road.
So we're waiting on review from the engineer and solicitor for the legal description for that before we can move forward. So I'm going to push this to the next meeting before we have this request.
Okay, so we don't, just no action, no table, no action. Okay. Next, we have land preservation discussion and consideration of consultant's proposal. And maybe Keldine will introduce this.
So, due to a lack of time and preparation, you did receive this memo, today. So I'm going to kind of, recap and summarize the memo for you and for the public at this time. The memo was prepared as a summary of information that I received, for your consideration. Commissioner Fairchild expressed an interest in the township considering land preservation with a focus on farmland and open space for the Board of Commissioners' consideration. Using Silver Springs Township as an example, he suggested a referendum on the ballot in fall of 2026. The timeline for a referendum to be on the ballot in November of 2026 would include the completion of the commissioners' discussion, public meetings with public comments, and the proposed language for the referendum to be approved by the township commissioners and submitted to the county by the beginning of August of 2026. At the April CAPCOG meeting, which is our Capital Region Council of Governments, Silver Spring Township shared a presentation on their experience implementing a land preservation program. Commissioner Fairchild has taken the time for extensive research in this area and facilitated a special presentation last week by Natural Lands Trust and Grow Conservation for the commissioners and the solicitor for informational purposes only on land preservation led by municipalities and the referendum process, generally speaking. On Friday, May 15th, I did receive 2 proposals requested for the board's consideration. Those are both before you this evening for your consideration and discussion as well. Commissioner Fairchild suggested funding the program solely through EIT tax 0.1% increase, which would be part of the conversation for the commissioners if you choose to take this direction. The potential costs and source of funding would be one of the decisions when drafting a referendum. The other commissioners, in addition to the staff and solicitor, will further review links and research that was provided over the past few weeks. And so we will have more information for future discussions. If the Upper Allen Township Commissioners desire to move forward with land preservation, focusing on open space or farmland, the discussion would include a timeline, potential costs of if the program is established, source of funds to support the program, and the township's consideration of consultant work to assist in preparation and implementation. A next step could be or may include a motion to approve or disapprove one or both of the consultant proposals for the purpose of direction and support in a referendum for land preservation in Upper Allen Township. And then the memo continues on with various websites and trust information, Cumberland County program, governance, etc.
Okay, thank you. So this is basically to bring some professionals in to make sure a referendum is properly researched and presented to the public with objective and factual information. It is really the public's decision. It seems more of our job just to correctly present it, in the best way possible, the most efficient and economic way. I believe the consultants are offering, stakeholder and public engagement and 4 public meetings. One of them may be a staff meeting, so at least 3 public meetings. We are working with the leaders really in open space conservation. So we have a proposal from Natural Lands and Grow Conservation to accomplish, the meetings and the research. And prior to August, the cost of the proposal is a little less than $20,000 for both consulting firms. We also met with Lancaster Farmland Trust. All of these organizations work with Silver Spring Township. We've had a lot of support from Vince DiFilippo and Laura Brown of Silver Spring. Really, just tremendous support, willing to help us every step of the way. They've had quite a bit of success with their program, which was passed in 2013, I think with 60% voter approval. They've now preserved what they presented at the April 20th COG meeting was they preserved 1,384 acres at this point. By way of comparison, Upper Allen has 405 acres preserved through the county ACE program, which is the conservation easement. But we believe their preliminary calculations are there's another 1,400 acres that could possibly be preserved. So they're all factors that, would get considered by the consultant. And I don't want to go on forever, so that if the other members have some comments or their take on it, I would just say they've been very successful in like the ring counties of Philadelphia that have experienced a lot of development. My own take is sooner or later, the residents just get fed up seeing everything being taken over, and they become supportive of these measures. But anyway, maybe Ken has a comment, or Jennifer, Karen, Phil.
Sure. I'm very supportive of the idea of looking to how we preserve not only farmland, but open space. I think that's only good planning. And we know that our township has changed quite a bit in the last several years as more commercial and residential growth has come. So I think it makes sense. And I think the timing is spot on because our comprehensive plan is a bit outdated. It hasn't been really touched since, I guess, about 2013. So that's a decade. It's time, over a decade, actually. So the staff and the board is planning to look at the comprehensive plan anyway, because, and now that we are fully staffed, I think that's going to be happening this year and into next. And the comprehensive plan is something that is only successful if we have residents and interest groups participate. Our planning commission, our recreation department, our public improvements department, all of those advisory groups, along with neighborhoods and residential groups and commercial groups, that's the time to really take an introspective look at where's our township been, where are we at now, where are we going? So I'm very supportive of looking at open space along with the comprehensive plan because I think it dovetails very nicely. What I'm concerned about is that we not rush the process. And I understand that there's interest in trying to get it on the ballot in November, but in order to do that, we have to give the county information or request of them in August. So we have 3 months to kind of put together a comp plan and discuss things with one another and see where we're at and going in the midst of the end of school and vacations and everything else. I think that's a bit disingenuous to our residents. I would like to pause and be very deliberate about it. And I think this issue is very, very much in our forefront because, as someone said already, our neighboring township is under siege to put in a data center. So I think there's interest out there among the community to let's really look at that. So my suggestion is not to thwart the project and or delay it, but to make sure we do it right. Because if we do it half-baked and the thing it fails or isn't the will of the people, it's going to be another decade before we get another shot at it. So again, I want to go on record saying I'm very supportive of the idea. I just want to make sure we do it right the first time. And I don't know what right is. I don't know if it's to preserve a lot of farmland or sell a lot of farmland. And the bottom line is, it's really the landowner's decision of what he or she does with their land. But I think we have to vet those things and really discuss them. So again, I'm just suggesting that, if it doesn't have a referendum doesn't happen 26, 27's right around the corner, and then we might be better prepared to do that. I do have one question specifically that I read both proposals. I was under the impression that natural lands and grow conservation were going to come in with a joint or a complementary process. And it feels to me, and maybe I should read them yet another time, but it doesn't feel like there's a lot of cooperation and or planning between the two groups as to who's going to do what and who's going to lead with a timeline, et cetera. So that gives me a little bit pause in voting for it tonight, but in terms of these particular groups, I'm not sure. But I'm not opposed to the groups. I think they're experienced. They have good track records. They certainly have a list of references that's impeccable. So I don't want to thwart that effort, but I would call for a little bit more of a concerted issue. But again, I'm all for preserving open space, and when you put farmland under pavement, you don't get a second shot. So that I recognize, but we're doing the comprehensive plan, and we have an opportunity to do this with involving all the citizenry and all the interest groups around the township. And let's make sure we get it right.
Mr. Chairman, if I may? Sure. Thank you, Ken. I'm glad to hear you're supportive of the concept of open space preservation, and I totally agree. I think the timing is spot on. And as part of that, given the widespread concerns regarding potential zoning changes in nearby and adjoining townships that would allow for development such as data centers and other things, residents are currently hyper-focused on some of these issues. And I believe that I think the timing is right to move forward on this, given everybody's focus on the problem of losing open space and farmland. I don't know that waiting another year and a half is going, I think, well, first of all, I agree. The more time we have to work on something is better. But at the same time, I think we lose the opportunity to work with the residents of our community who are now hyper-focused on some of these very specific issues. So and while it would be nice to have more time, I think I heard you say you thought maybe the comprehensive plan would be developed before then?
No, we're going to start that comprehensive plan, as I
right.
understand, this summer, and that's probably a year process.
Well, I understand. I was concerned. I didn't want to think that maybe we had to wait for that before anything happened.
No, thank you.
Sure. But while we're on the subject of comprehensive plans, I went through the last couple of comprehensive plans for the township, and they are just replete with references and concerns of residents about open space preservation. I don't think I need a lot of focus groups to get a sense of the meeting here that our residents want to preserve open space and are concerned about overdevelopment. So while I'd like to have more time, I agree with you on that. At the same time, I think the timing is now, given the issues we're facing right along our own township border with Monroe Township, which is a data center, which is going to affect more of our residents than it is theirs. I think we need to move forward on this, strike while the iron's hot.
Commissioner Fairchild, may I say a few things? First of all, I appreciate you pulling these groups together, and I think I appreciate you pulling these groups together, and I think the presentation that they did was really informative. I don't have the longevity on the board that my colleagues have, and I'm not as familiar with the comprehensive plans, but I did quickly jot down the items that I think are coming to the surface or coming before us at meetings repeatedly. And I think that all of them, from noise ordinance concerns, traffic issues, overall discomfort with the townhome developments that are going in various locations due to traffic issues, noise issues, et cetera, are an indication to me that Upper Allen residents are concerned about overdevelopment. That, in agreement with what you've read in the comprehensive plan, I think that has been a common theme over the past several years. I wish we had more time, but I feel like we've got data centers closing in on us. We have stormwater concerns literally flooding some of our residents. And I feel that all of this is due to quick, fast development. And I would like to see this referendum go through. The concern that I have, and this is one that Ken raised too, is that when I look at these two scopes of work, I do see issues where there's a potential for the two groups who both are, I don't want to pass judgment on them. They seem like wonderful people with a lot of experience, but there's overlap in their scopes of work. And I don't want to see us in a position where something isn't accomplished in this plan and we've got two contractors kind of pointing fingers at one another. It wasn't my responsibility, it was his, and so forth. So I am comfortable moving forward with this, but I would ask that we work with the two contractors to come up with a cohesive plan. And I'll use as an example, the conservation opportunities maps. Both natural lands and grow conservation have that as a task assigned to them. And I think that's critical in this plan to develop that conservation map, and maybe they will both have a role in that. But from managing the project, I would like to know who is the owner of that versus who is an influencer on that decision. So that's my only concern. And I don't think that it's a large concern. I love the idea of us putting this out to the community in a number of ways and getting their feedback, and voter and resident engagement through referendum, I think is as open a process as there probably exists. So that's my 2 cents.
I might just add briefly there, Jennifer, my understanding was that they would be partnering on certain issues. So there would be overlap in that they would be working together on the same component, and with Grow Conservation being the local entity. So he would be the local individual that we would be working directly with, but working in conjunction with natural land. So there would be overlap. I think that the idea was that they would work together to develop certain components.
It's just that, to me, that's not clear. And we don't have a timeline, and we don't have a, definitely who's taking the lead and which step as we go. And that's bothersome to me, as well as we're approving something, and I recognize that through the process, we would have to take action in terms of putting guide rails around what we're doing, but we have no idea well, Commissioner Fairchild, you did say there's probably another 1,400 acres, but do the math. Not everybody will sign up, and it won't happen in 1 or 2 years, but let's look at the potential of, if we were to preserve 1,400 acres, and I don't know what the going rate is, but we're potentially committing to a large sum of money that we really don't know what we're spending. So that's bothersome to me from a fiscal standpoint. And then one other question again, or I might just mention, in talking to a Silver Spring commissioner just this week who was part of their process, I said, how long do you think you really need to do that? And he said, oh, you need at least a year. And after we met with the consultants, I took them I pulled them aside and just said, hey, all things being equal, if you had the best scenario and could really do this properly, how much time would you need? And the one gentleman said, oh, well, you need at least 9 months. And the other person chimed in and said, well, we need a year. So that's, again, what's informing my decision. Again, not to be negative toward the process, but let's take our time and do it right once. That's my preference. And Commissioner Fairchild, there's not a motion on the floor, but if we voted to move forward with these consultants, would it be with the understanding that it would go on the 2026 referendum?
Yes.
Pardon?
Yes.
Yes. So then we would have to consult the electorate, have interest groups, put together language, and get to the Bureau of Elections by August 20, which is a requirement. So we would do that from May, whatever date is now, till August 20.
That's setting the wording for the referendum. Then you would have a period between then and the election to get out information and have more meetings and public engagement. Did you have a comment, Karen?
Yeah, I think for me, this discussion with the community, it can be part of the comprehensive plan, and we're starting that in August. And it could supplement that. And either way, the residents will be saying yes or no, whether they want it. And I see this plan, if you jam it in, it could supplement the comprehensive plan before it's ready to get out. And if you gave it more time, like Ken was saying, you'd have time for people to digest it some, and you might get a more positive response to it in another year than you could in November.
Well, there is a ton of research out there, especially through like organizations like We Can Serve Pennsylvania. They have handbooks, guidebooks. They've researched all the referendum. I guess there's been 157 referendums in Pennsylvania since I think 1996. It's been an 80% success rate. I take what I heard what Ken said, take what Jennifer says in terms of my own education on the board, that you can only do so much with the zoning, and you really need that policy lever of being able to, basically buy development rights. I mean, the owners of the farms are still expected to continue farming. The real thing is not to develop the farm for other uses. And the data center thing just like is a whirlwind of that's been the real move on the farms in the last year. I think we've all seen that. And a farmer in Silver Spring Township made national news. He turned down a $15 million offer from a data center developer, and he took a $2 million offer from Silver Spring Township for a conservation easement on a 261 acre farm. So I think Silver Spring paid about $7,200 per acre for the conservation easement. And so that's kind of shows you the type of money that's involved. But you need, I think, just having the program, having the awareness, it would make some of the farmers, think twice. They're under a lot of strain. It's not a difficult endeavor to farm. And it also helps facilitate a generational transfer in farms. A lot of the state information, confirms all that. So I
have another question. Yeah. Do our staff have the capacity to be working on multiple projects? Like this is a new thing that wasn't budgeted last year to come in now. Do we have enough staff capacity to move around and accomplish that?
They can answer that better, but I think that's what the consultants are supposed to have. Or maybe they want to answer that in private, but the consultant, it's a specialized area of knowledge, I think. And also, Josh, our solicitor has been very involved in, it's prescribed how you have to present the referendum, and how you have to identify a choice. Usually it is earned income tax or it's bond, but whatever. You were going to say something, Kelly?
As long as it's clear in the contracts who would be coordinating and as it was indicated, leading it and responsible for the actions and the movement, that we'll do what we can to support the direction dictated by the commissioners.
I think a RACI chart would be perfect, right? Where we could kind of identify who's responsible, who's accountable, who needs to be communicated with, and who has influence on this.
I thought they were proposing an immediate meeting. They would start to work immediately with staff and us, or maybe two commissioners,
right,
or whatever, to separate,
There's pretty
fill
vague.
in any questions you have.
And developing that roles and responsibilities in that first meeting may put folks' minds at
They are
ease.
organizations that have closely worked together on other issues.
But admittedly, it was pretty vague in terms of the steps they're going to follow and who's going to do what. I thought it.
I hear what you're saying about.
I worked with a myriad of consultants in my professional career, and I've never been in a situation where the consultant's work hasn't had an impact on the local staff's time and resources and involvement. I mean, Our staff has to be involved too.
So we have public comment on this. Yep.
He was hiding.
Jim, I didn't see you. I thought you were on vacation.
No, I wouldn't miss this. Jim Cochran, 34 Allison Avenue. First of all, I'm disappointed. I'm really disappointed because I filed a right to know request for information on this meeting tonight. And since you waited till Friday to publish a memo, I got nothing. And no other public citizen would have any information as to what the proposals look like. We have no idea what they look like. And you've really circumvented right to know because you held it off till Friday to put it forward. So no one got a chance to look at it before the meeting.
How can you say that, Jim? I mean,
I'm saying it real easily. I filed a right to know and you waited till the last minute. All it says on here is consideration, land discussion and consideration. Doesn't say
that's when the
voting.
agenda comes out. It's like you're asking for something before the agenda.
Yeah, but there's nothing in your pack to describe at all what's going on tonight.
We don't usually get the agendas before the Friday before, do we, Kelly?
No.
Was this
I got your pack. There's,
That's what
you got a memo, what, today or yesterday? With the details of this that wasn't in the pack. If a citizen wanted to know what was going to be discussed tonight, there's no way they could know it.
How can you get the pack before we even see it?
I'm not talking about the
It's- we
pack.
have
I'm
this-
talking
this
about the
issue with
memo.
Digital.
I'm talking about the memo that you're talking about now, where you talk about what the two organizations tend to offer.
I saw that, and then I saw people posting on Facebook. So
There's nothing in the packet on that.
That memo was
You
on
mean-
Facebook before I even saw it.
Same here. And you used
You got it
packets
before.
for years.
I know,
So
but
we
I
don't
didn't
understand.
see a thing in the
And I
packet.
always thought the packet was
If I missed
legally
it,
protected
my
until-
fault, but I did not see a thing in the packet other than the listing on the agenda. And I went down through the packet again this morning. So I'll move on.
Anyway, but I thought the case law was that the packet is kind of confidential until the board takes action. And then it's subject to right to know.
No,
I thought that was the pre-deliberation
no,
exception. Maybe Josh is going to say something, I think.
The packet is generally public, but there may be information in the packet that is exempt from public disclosure. So there could be documents that have to be redacted. If, say, there's a legal memorandum that has to
Right.
be taken out of, that can't be disclosed to the public.
so.
But anyway, you didn't get it too
Okay,
in the head,
that-
but you're,
that was-
I
that
agree
was
with
aside.
your point.
I do. I'm concerned that we don't conflate two separate issues here. One issue is ag preservation, which I completely support. And the county has a magnificent program. And when you say that Silver Springs preserved so many acres, it wasn't just Silver Springs. It was the county with Silver Springs putting something on top, a sweetener, is my understanding. Because I talked to Vince at length over a year ago about this. The second program they have is a scenic land preservation. And I assume that's something you want to do too.
Is it what?
Scenic land preservation? Or are you just talking ag preservation? What are you going to do here? If it's
Ag and open space, and I think you can.
so it's open space. So with open space, what we're saying with open space is that we're going to tax through earned income tax. We're going to tax hardworking families, some of them barely getting by. And I know it's 0.1%, but we're going to take that money and we're going to give it to people who have scenic land, if it's like Silver Springs, 10 acres or more. Those are people that are probably not going to be paying that tax because they're probably retired and they're probably well-to-do. So we're, unlike New York, where Hochul and Mandami are going to tax the rich to pay the poor, Walsh and Fairchild want to tax the poor to subsidize the rich. And that's a shame. That's really a shame. And that's what the two.
Present, Jim. You have your political, what your.
I can state my opinion.
Your 3 minutes are up.
I can state
You're
my
making a
opinion.
political statement.
I'm
And if
stating
you do
my
your
opinion.
research, it doesn't apply to retirees, the earned income tax. It doesn't apply to
Right,
pensions.
that's what I'm
and
saying.
Social
You're gonna
Security.
give them
But
the
you just said
cash.
Fairchild Walsh. They're making it a political.
You're going to
thing.
give them the cash and they're not going to
How about we
pay
let
anything.
the voters decide. This is
Okay.
about the voters deciding.
Well, if you give them enough time, but you're going to jam it through, it's going to be another Bishop Bridge.
Nobody's jamming it through.
Yes, you are.
We're just trying to meet a deadline to get the referendum language.
90 days
Silver
to do something that people would normally take a year.
It's within
Silver Spring
80
took
word
much longer than a
referendum.
year to put it in place.
So,
You're
you.
jamming it through once again.
okay, anyone else? Yep.
Paul Brenneman, 2020 Stumpstown Road. I was just curious with the preservation, the meadow, or what exactly you're looking at, because we own about 15 acres of land. We're never going to develop it in my lifetime, but I don't quite understand why I should be paid not to develop my land. That's, and I agree with Commissioner Martin, and what I could understand, he wasn't getting shouted over. Mr. Cochran, I don't understand that. And it seems like we're rushing it through. I don't know. So is that part of the plan, just to pay people to leave?
I wouldn't characterize it that way.
Pardon?
I wouldn't characterize it that way myself, but the interesting thing is I noticed your parcel is in the ASA program, which is a precursor, but I should have clarified. I mean, Silver Spring uses a land.
But see, we're not Silver Springs. That's, you keep referencing Silver Springs, and we're not Silver Springs anymore.
You have an independent board that makes the decision. You don't start with the small acreage. I think you start with the large farms. You prioritize.
We're not Silver Springs. We're not Monaghan. We're not Monroe. That was 40 years ago. I've said on other issues, from where we live, it was all open space. It's not that way anymore, and it's never going to be that way. And the farms that are at our end of the township, a lot of them are preserved, and I don't understand what we're trying to accomplish. So is that what you would propose, that you're going to pay somebody like us just to leave our land the way it is? And I'm asking, I don't know. And you just look like you're irritated for asking the question. I don't know.
No, I think it's voluntary. I don't think they're
Yeah,
forcing.
but who's not going to take the money?
Well, the idea is if you take it, then you couldn't develop. So just like you're doing right now with agriculture, if you take that money, then you can't develop it later. But I would say, part of this process is really about researching and hearing from the community. So I want to be really careful when we say your plan is to, tax people and give the money here. That's not. This plan is to create a referendum where we go to the voters and say, is this your interest? Is this what you want to do? If ultimately the voters come back and they agree with you that they don't want to do
I'm not
this.
saying I don't want it. I just don't understand.
And I think that's part of this is right. Like we're bringing in experts who do understand this to hold meetings. I don't understand this either. I've attended one meeting and I've read some information online. But I think what we're saying is this community, this township is increasingly being developed. As I sit in this seat, every meeting, we have noise concerns, traffic concerns.
Sitting here listening, I agree.
Here, stormwater concerns. We have people's basements being flooded because of water coming from somebody else's overdeveloped property. When I look at this, I think, no, I don't have the answers. And that's why this proposal is to bring some experts in to sit in a room with us and discuss. I mean, I'm not speaking for you, Chairman Fairchild, and you may disagree with me, but ultimately, if we sit down and do this research and we meet with these folks and they say, there isn't enough interest in your community from the owners of the property, right? Then we're not going to go forward with the referendum. If there aren't enough properties when they come in and do this is my understanding, Commissioner Fairchild, and if I'm wrong, again, please correct me, but my understanding is ultimately if they come together and they say, listen, we've done the conservation opportunities map and there's only 2 people who are willing to do this and the resulting is 20 acres, we're not going to move forward. But what we're saying is sitting here and hearing these complaints and concerns, do we continue to put Band-Aids over the problems of noise, stormwater, building, blah, 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 blah? Or do we say, okay, from a 50,000 foot level, do we look at this and say, maybe we want to Ken's comment, look at this from a bigger picture? And I don't know that there's anything wrong with that. I hate spending money, and this is a $20,000 investment. I don't see how we could move forward with our comprehensive plan without looking at this. And so for the $20,000, which I hate spending, I feel like this is the right way to go. We've got experts at the table. That's just my 2 cents. I definitely understand where you're coming. I am not in favor of taxing the poor and paying the
I
wealthy.
appreciate that. Thank you.
I think, I think you brought up some really, really good ideas, and we all kind of admitted like, well, we're not really sure what it might look like, or we need to get information out. Remember that many of the municipalities we looked at who have conservation programs, they preserve for, well, what's the word I'm looking for? Forever.
In perpetuity.
Thank you. Thank you. In perpetuity. And so that's a heck of a long time. So again, I'm all for trying to understand where we're going and where we should go. What I'm bothered by with, we're going to try to come up with a rational, informed information in 3 months to put it on this year's election. That, it seems like we're talking against our own argument. We don't understand it. We want to look for more possibilities. We want to have conversations among the board, among advisory groups, but yet we're gonna be sure to bring it to the public. I think it's unfair to our residents.
Well, Jennifer said something else that hit with me, like if you're reviewing it and find out you've discussed it and had your experts and talked about it, and there's not enough interest from the existing property owners, maybe it doesn't even go on the referendum.
Yeah, right.
Right. And I think it's,
This is just for information for myself.
With this discussion, Effie Rigney, 605 Lavina Drive. A number of years ago, we put a referendum on whether or not to serve alcohol, sell alcohol in the township. And at that time, the referendum could only be during a certain election. Is that the case with this? So that you would have to wait another 3 or 4 years? That was the case with that. It had to be a certain election after the governor election.
That's not an issue here.
It's not, okay, thank you.
And,
But thanks for the reminder about that referendum.
but yeah, and just about, could it be either a primary or a general?
Right. It could be either one.
So then if we were to delay, it wouldn't necessarily mean we're doing it for a year. It would be an additional 6 months to May of 27.
I don't know.
I mean,
It brings to mind the perfect is the enemy of the good. The perfect is the enemy of the good. I mean, so we lose another farm to the data center. I mean, and when you were talking, Paul, I mean, it's the Strock farm is in ASA, but it is not, there's no conservation easement. So, I mean, what happened in Monroe could have very well happened in Upper Allen. They could have got an option on that.
You bring up the Strock farm. As I spoke, I don't know what the issue was. My father and I worked for Paul Strock, the owner, for 30 or 40 years. He had the opportunity to preserve it and he chose not to. You know, the farm's in a trust right now and that's not going to get developed. One of his children is my best friend probably. You know, that's a possibility, but it's just, you know.
That's now, and Ken will talk about perpetuity. And
Well,
but these easements are perpetual, you know, so it goes on a long time, but it's not does not have a perpetual easement, and they would have that opportunity.
Ken, that's interesting. So you said this could be done at the primary,
Sure, it could be done in May.
which would give us how?
Would give us 9 months.
well, I think we're confusing the time to register to have the referendum put on. There's another several months after that, during which these consultants are still working to inform the public and have these meetings. So it's not simply 3 months
Right.
dead stop. It's more like 5 or 6 months. So, yeah, I think it's a bit disingenuous to suggest that we're
And I looked
shoving
at
it
it
into a
like,
3-month timeframe.
you know, the Silver Spring referendum was 80 words. It is prescribed how you have to present the referendum. It is really determining the interest, what, you know, is in the consultant's proposal. And Jim and everybody else will see that, put it on the website, whatever. There's no, you know, it's not hidden in any way. I mean, these are professional groups. Like I said earlier, there's a ton of information about, you know, pros and cons of the referendum, who benefits, who has to pay. You do have to interact with like the Cumberland County Tax Bureau to really assess your earned income potential and who actually pays it. Like they said earlier, you know, retirement income is exempt from the earned income tax. I looked today, so the 0.1%, it's at 1/10 of 1% on $50,000 a year. That's $50. I mean, I struggle with the own issue of, is it $50 a year? That's for a person, or it'd be $100 a year for a family. You know, do you weigh that against getting pizza or going to Mod Wash? Or I see all these big lines of Starbucks coffee. It just depends on your priority. And we could make the most perfect referendum ever, Ken. And we just had a primary the other day. I mean, if you ever watch it, it's just up and down, the turnout. You just don't know sometimes. I don't see an advantage to waiting. I see a disadvantage to more of these data centers just trying to grab everything. Yep. Yep.
Find Cheryl Ginther. So what I understand, I hear you saying is, so in order to preserve land, say we all say as residents, we do want to preserve land, right? So the money for that is going to increase our taxes to help pay that person's land to stay beautiful and free. So in other words, we would be paying more in taxes. So is there a way to identify what that amount might be?
Well, that's an interesting thought. I raised that question, but nobody seems to know that.
So is it going to go up
It's
another $300 a year? I'm just, I'm not against preserving land. I'm just seeking to understand.
The impact.
You said it's
Instead, I mean,
$100 on
if you have a $50,000 a year income, it's $50.
Okay.
I mean, how important is
Is that once a year?
Yeah,
Or how?
once a year.
The referendum would have, the language of the referendum has to have the formula for the funding in the referendum. So we don't know what formula may be used, but like
Who comes up with that formula? Who comes up with that formula? Who comes up with that?
Or what the
Would decide that, and then that.
That's the consultant. Okay, thank you.
Give a recommendation.
All right.
Yeah, the consultant would give a recommendation, and then the board could put that on the referendum, but ultimately the citizens would decide whether or not they approve of that formula or not. And the citizens would know what the formula is because it would be right in the language of the referendum, what the tax increase would be.
My husband and I are budgeters and we're planners.
Yes.
And we, you know, and so I want to see land be preserved. I love the deer. They have nowhere to go. You know, it's getting more and more challenging. I've had deer in my backyard. I've never had deer in my backyard ever. They don't know where to go.
Yep.
But
You know, you have to weigh it. You
Yeah.
will have that choice.
Well, and I'm saying, you know, as you look at the whole community and of course we want to preserve the land. And if that's going to help someone to be able to say, I don't need to sell to a developer or whatever, that's worth talking about together and having good communication on that.
And that's what this plan is really, to move forward in that discussion. And I think, Commissioner Fairchild, you said it would be, $50 on a
$50,000,
$50
$100 on $100,000.
So you can kind of
That's
figure
once
that.
a year.
Yeah, and that's where we're starting from. But again, that's all part of the research and
And would that go up every year?
No, that stays permanent. And that was going to be one of my points too, is how you look at it, what your priority, what your values are. But you have a choice whether you want to support this,
Okay.
what you want your township to look like. So I looked at the Mechanicsburg area school district, their budget today, and they are going up by 0.7 mils. That's on your real estate, the value of your home. And my own tax bill will go up $147. You know, and I have a small house. This year, it went up $146 last year, $122 a year before that. So every year it's going up that way. I think, my opinion, you know, having analyzed these finances and the zoning and all this development, is that we The development doesn't pay. It just costs more money. Every time you approve it, you take a street on it or a stormwater system, it's a future liability. And it puts tremendous impact on the school district. And I always thought of Mechanicsburg as being a kind of a small, medium-sized district comprised of the borough and Upper Allen Township. And you could do the math another way.
Not an easy job that you have. Thank you.
But you could look then at 1,000 acres, if that got developed at 5 units an acre or 10 units, what burden would that put on the school system?
I think
What would
that's
that do?
I think that's a good point. My son's in 7th grade and every building he's been in since kindergarten has been under construction. And I'm sure that has something to do with those school taxes going up every year.
Anybody else from the public? Because you do inform us and it does help.
Josh Brown, 834 Grantham Road. I just have a question here because I'm trying to understand this a little bit. How are data centers going to work into agriculture when they're classified as industrial zoning? That's where I'm a little confused at with some of the talk up here. And the room here is obviously on edge right now because of this whole conversation and how these, well, I'm just calling a spade, okay? So help me understand that a little bit here. That's where I'm at with this because what I do professionally, it's there. I mean, we all deal with technology, but I'm trying to understand this a little bit more because I think everybody's on edge right now. So I think if we just lay that playing field out, I think that'd be great. So
In Monroe, they're asking for a rezoning.
yeah,
It's actually zoned R1, I think,
and that's what I wasn't sure of because it's not our cards to play. So that's what I was just trying to understand there. So if that is an R1, okay.
Right.
All right.
So that's up to the Board of Commissioners whether or not they're going to change the zoning.
Okay. So then obviously here at Upper Allen, we're covered with our planning commission zoning and all that stuff. So there's a lot of checks and balances here before even a data center even is on the check mark of it's going to go in somewhere.
They're kind of aggressive what they come in.
Yeah,
what they
yeah.
go after, like Monroe has an ordinance and I
Yeah.
thought that's good. It says they belong in the industrial district.
Yeah.
And that's what our ordinance is directing them toward.
So,
But
Well,
yeah,
correct me if I'm
it's a
wrong,
good
though. We
question.
have an ordinance that protects from some of this, and it isn't preventing what's going on. I'm sorry, we're in litigation for it right now. I can't remember. Are we not any longer?
6 South Market Street, is that the one, the Maplewood Farm?
Yeah, Maplewood.
That was zoned agriculture. They came
That
in
was zoned agriculture,
60,000
right?
square foot.
see, this is all learning for me too. So I appreciate the comment. I appreciate all this stuff.
I mean,
Just to be clear, we have advertised an ordinance to limit data centers to the industrial zone, but no ordinance has been adopted. Now, we can enforce that through what's called the pending ordinance doctrine,
Mhm.
but there does need to be a more comprehensive ordinance adopted by the municipality to set, let's say if a data center was allowed in an industrial district, you would still want conditions that data center would have to comply with in the industrial district.
So
And
that's on us to get on with.
we
Yeah.
need to enact that type of an ordinance.
Yeah,
But our-
but Monroe Township enacted an ordinance in 2025, similar to ours in that respect, yet here we are with a data center proposal.
You're correct. Even if you limit it to industrial zone, that doesn't prevent someone with a lot of money that wants to develop a data center to make a push to have a zoning change.
And we have Maplewood right now where they're developing outside of that zoning ordinance as well, right? Is it-
Well, according to the decision of the ZHB, they're compliant with our
Okay.
ordinances.
Yeah, I just see this as mentioning the comprehensive plan from 2013. It's over a decade old.
Mhm.
It needs to be updated. I understand, there's steps to all this. I get that. But I see this as a really big undertaking. And as Ken has said multiple times, you have to do it right the first time. And none of us here know. I mean, I'm sure the staff, I can't speak for any of you, but I'm sure you guys don't know what right is either. So it's an eye opener, really, is what it comes down to. But thank you all. I appreciate it very much so.
So this process that's here, this is part of that. It goes into the comprehensive plan because we'll have all those community meetings.
Right.
And you have the opportunity to hear about it and learn about it.
I would just, I'll go ahead.
I was just going to say, if there would be a motion to accept these contracts that have been proposed, I would recommend that there be a condition that there has to be a provision added to these proposals that time is of the essence and that the work needs to be performed by the consultants in enough time to give the board the opportunity to meet the August deadline.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Well, or I was even going to add, I would be supportive of the motion, but I wouldn't want to put in a deadline or that it has to be complete for the fall election. I think the process should go on with the comprehensive plan and with conversation with our citizenry. And if it comes around for the November election, fine. And if it doesn't come around till May, fine. Let's do a comprehensive, good job. I mean, we're not going to have 5 data centers in the next 6 months in this township. I mean, come on.
Okay, we can do that. Are we ready to? Any other?
Do we have to have it for this November election? Is that what you're saying? We'd have to indicate the date in which we're moving forward with the referendum?
No, that's not what I was recommending.
Okay.
I want you to put a condition on the consultants that they have to perform the work quickly enough that you can then act by the time that you want to act. I mean, I hear some of you saying that you want to act, you want this on the ballot for November. I hear others saying you want more time.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be a majority on that. If the decision is that this is going to be on the November 2026 ballot, then we need to put a condition that these consultants perform the work in enough time to give us the opportunity to meet the deadlines that we need to meet.
And the deadline that we need to meet is August.
If a majority of the board wants this on the ballot in November 2026, then there needs to be decisions made by August 20th. I believe the information needs to be submitted to the Cumberland County Board of Elections by August 20th.
I can't find the language in here, but I thought they were ready to proceed immediately. I saw that in one of the proposals.
But to me,
you need that for guidance or to answer your question.
To me, the proposals aren't very comprehensive, but well, to get the discussion moving, I would move that we contact Natural Lands and Grow Conservation and with the intent of entertaining their engagement with the schedule of who is taking leadership for what steps, along with a timeline for a final project for final consideration in our June 3 meeting.
I'm not sure what you're proposing for June 3 meeting.
That we make a final decision on using these 2 consultants if they come to us with a plan of work that shows the relationship between the 2 entities, the steps that they're going to propose for our planning and with how they interface.
Okay, just so I'm clear though.
With a timeline, yeah.
Sure. So you're suggesting that we approve both of the consultants for the purpose of or direction of the support of the referendum for land preservation in Upper Allen Township with the condition that time is of the essence and that some type of time frame will be spelled out at the June meeting.
Yeah, I guess what I'm saying, Phil, is that I'd like to indicate to them that we're ready to do business with these two groups and to give them that positive feedback, but they have to come back with a real proposal to.
Can I object? We had 2 meetings with the group. They
No, I
all
had
know
one-
we're,
I had one
we're
meeting.
working toward an August deadline to get it on the ballot this year. To question their qualifications, their interaction and all that. I just think they are professionals. They know that is the timeline. That's the assumption in here. And it's one thing to say delay for whatever, but to delay to kill a project, your motion makes no sense. We have a proposal before us written by an intelligent, professional organization. And
May I
if we delay, we're not going to make the August.
May I respond?
Yeah.
I'm not delaying it. I'm not questioning their qualifications. What I'm asking for, if we're going to spend $20,000, I'd like to know what the steps they're going to enhance, how they're going to go about it, and which organization taking leadership.
Do you want me to read the whole proposal? Like 20? It's in there.
Excuse me, Chairman.
We read
Chairman
that.
Fairchild, if I may. I think perhaps.
never
Mr. Martin, bear with me. My understanding was that Mr. Martin was proposing to approve this motion. So we would retain both of these consultants, and a condition of that approval is that they provide us. Now, they're already scheduled to have a meeting with us anyway. They can bring that with them to the first meeting. Did I misunderstand what you were saying? So aren't we voting to approve?
No, I just been put
Retention
down by the
fees?
chairman, so I'll withdraw the motion.
Well, no, I don't get it. I mean, you have the proposal. We all supposedly read it. I think they're clear. We had 2 meetings. Well, Karen and I had a meeting with Natural
I had
Lands.
one meeting.
And then you
Mr. Chairman.
had
I was
a
only
meeting
one.
with Natural Lands. Then we also had a meeting with Lancaster Farmland Trust. It's been reinforced what, the timeline had to be, and they complied with that. But your question is, that's what I don't understand. You seem to impose conditions, have a back and forth. Time is tight to begin with, and that's as good as just pulling the plug on it to me.
I'm sorry, I guess that I'm not as smart as you are, Mr. Chairman.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the consultants with the purpose of direction and support of the referendum for the land preservation in Upper Allen Township with the deadline included in it so that they know that they have to move quickly to get on the referendum ballot for November. How's that sound?
Does she need to
Am I
use the
covered?
phrase time is of the essence specifically?
I mean, yes, I would recommend that.
Move to approve with understanding that time is of the essence.
Yes. Okay. Does anybody
that good?
support it?
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
You're not going to have discussion?
Any
Ken?
more,
Okay,
any more
sorry.
discussion?
No, we'll pause that, revert, whatever. What we should say, Ken?
Well, I would like to make an amendment. I'm supportive of Karen's motion. I'd like to amend the motion to state that the referendum is subject to further proposal and approval by the board.
I'm not sure what that means. I'm not sure what that means.
What's
the purpose of that?
It means that if we start this process and involve the citizenry, if we don't feel we're ready to have it on the November 26th ballot, we'll put it on a May 27 ballot or November, but let's keep it open and do the process comprehensively and rather than force the issue just to get a half-baked job done to put it on the ballot if that's what it comes to.
So Ken, for clarification, you're saying if that's what it comes to. So in other
Yeah,
words,
I'm
we
not
would continue down this path.
Exactly.
But if in going down this path, we realize that we're not ready, we would continue with the contract with these 2 groups. in order to meet a May deadline. Is that what we're getting at?
Yeah,
Then
thank you.
Then I second your amendment.
Thank you.
No idea.
I don't think it's necessary, but so
I don't think it hurts
What do-
anything. It doesn't hurt anything because we're going to go down that path. And if we're getting, if we sit here at these meetings and we hear nothing but people saying, I'm not interested, I don't want to do it, I'm going to vote against it, then we know we need to.
that's the off ramp to me. That's why we don't proceed. That's why I don't understand. Why would we move it to May then? Or
I think there's a lot of confusion about what it's going to be. And I ultimately, this is a small group. And as was mentioned earlier, I don't know that this was out in the internet world for very long before it came before us. I know we've been talking about it, but if ultimately the community feels that they need a little bit more time, I'm not saying that that's the case, but I'm saying as we go down this path, if ultimately the community thinks that they need a little bit more time, this would give us an avenue to do that.
that's not how it works. It's our job to present a referendum to them, and then it's their decision. Why do they say we need more time?
There's an amendment and second on the floor, Mr. Chairman.
So do we say all those in favor of
Are
the
we
amendment,
voting
or
on
do
the
we go back to
amendment?
the first one?
What you do in parliamentary procedure is you vote on the amendment. If the amendment passed, then you vote on the amended motion. That's pretty obvious.
So all those in favor of the amendment?
And the amendment, if I might interpret my motion as Jen indicated, was that we engage these consultants, but that we leave vacant the actual date of the referendum. If we make it by fall, wonderful. But if we don't, then we have that possibility.
Could I try to clarify things further? I didn't understand Karen's motion as establishing that this would be on the ballot in November of 2026. We were just asking that the consultant gets us the information that if we want it on the ballot, we have the information by that time.
Okay, I was going by several comments earlier by Chairman Fairchild that it was for the August. So you're saying the motion on the floor
Well,
does
now
not
it's been-
specify the time of the ballot? Is that what you're saying? Karen?
That's what she said.
Yeah, I didn't specify the time of the ballot, but that it would be ready from the consultants to go for the ballot if we chose.
If you chose.
Then you can withdraw your amendment.
So I
We can withdraw.
don't think we need the amendment. We say time
Well, I
is
think
of
they
the essence.
sort of cleared us up.
You have to call for it.
Clear us up now that you have a motion and amendment on the floor. My recommendation would be, I think the amendment was based on a misunderstanding of what the motion was asking for. And so I would recommend and I'm not trying to vote here, I'm just trying to clean up the procedure. But I would recommend that the amendment be voted down, and then you can vote on the original motion.
Given your clarification, I'll withdraw the amendment. We'll ask the seconder if that's okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And
Wait,
now we
I
go back.
withdrew the amendment. You don't have to vote on it.
We're voting on,
Okay,
I thought we were voting on the motion.
now then,
Now we.
Okay, the amendment has been withdrawn, so now the motion on the floor is Karen's motion, which my understanding is we're retaining the consultant with a condition that they provide the information that the board needs to put this on the ballot for November 2026, if that's what the board decides to do. The consultant just needs to get us that information so the board can act in that deadline if they choose to do so at a later time.
Yeah, that's what I said. That's what I meant.
Yep.
Is that everybody's interpretation of the motion?
Yeah, it's
My
a fair
interpretation.
statement.
Okay.
Is there a second?
We have a second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any discussion? Did they all vote yes?
Did we all, was that,
Oh, do you want to do, I did, yeah, I thought we all did. Do you want to do roll call vote or you?
oh, it sounded
Okay.
like it was
Yeah.
unanimous. I
Yeah.
didn't want to misinterpret. Thank you. Sorry for the
Well,
interaction in a way, but
you stand up.
well,
no
I'm not
one say
a
that-
military expert, so you're teaching, so thank you.
Well, let no one say that we don't deliberate in public.
Yeah, true.
Oh, and that, actually, I do want to bring up something else because there's been a lot of discussion about attendance at meetings, and that's a charged legal term under the Sunshine Act. And I want to clarify that what you have been doing are not meetings under the Sunshine Act. If one commissioner is meeting with a group, that is not a public meeting under the Sunshine Act. And also, if the entire board meets with a consultant for the purpose of gathering information, that is a gathering. That is not a meeting. Now, I understand when you said you attended a meeting, you weren't probably thinking of those legal distinctions, but my understanding is that the board had a gathering to get information where no deliberations took place. And I just want to make that clear for the record, so it's not misunderstood what earlier comments were made.
Thank you. I believe we're down to, is it the, lost my agenda.
I bet you got it.
It's yours. Doesn't have your name on it. Public, nothing for public improvements, correct, Kildane? Nothing for sanitary sewer? Administrative committee? Then we have Park and Rec Committee, consideration approval of bid award for Grantham Park Phase 2. And Jason will probably wish to speak to that, as to what the bid results were and so forth.
We held a bid opening on Friday of last week. We secured 6 bids for the Grantham Park Phase 2 project. The lowest bid was submitted by Mainstream Services LLC in the amount of $320,455. The second highest bid was submitted by Rogel Incorporated in the amount of $349,977. I believe that we are continuing to evaluate the bids at this time. And as I understand, there may not be action this evening. That's before the board accordingly.
We had talked about this in PIS.
Yeah.
Today, and
Well-
you had a question then.
Well, I have a question. Since some of the vendors or the proposals were new vendors for our use here in the township and our familiarity, we asked the engineer to do some references and background information. I don't think that's been completed yet, so I would move we table this action until the next meeting.
Somebody want a second?
Second.
Second, okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Thank you, Jason. We have a solicitor update.
No update. I did give a statement on the Supreme Court's decision. I didn't know if you want me to cover that again for this audience or.
If they want to hear it, we did talk about it in stormwater a little bit, but might help to recap.
Yeah, I'll just give the same recap. So the Supreme Court in the Westchester Borough case, that case involved Westchester Borough, which is a home rule municipality. It is not subject to the same municipal codes as Upper Round Township as a first-class township. The Supreme Court didn't make any ruling on what's legal under the first-class township code, what's legal under the Municipality Authorities Act. So my recommendation was that the stormwater fee remain until there's more clarification on whether on the scope of the Supreme Court's holding, whether it actually applies to municipal authorities, such as the Upper Island Authority.
Thank you. And is it Cheryl? I forget what exactly you said before. You said Monroe dropped. They took theirs to zero.
In other words, it's a zero for now.
Oh, what was it before? Like,
I'm not sure what the.
but it was like $15 or something like ours. Okay. Okay, thanks. And thank you, Josh. I mean, it's keeps going on, even though it's been decided, it's like subject to interpretation. Capital Region COG update?
No update.
When did they meet again, Ken?
We just met this past Wednesday night, or Monday
You
night.
shared something about liquid fuels.
Yes, and they
That's
had, they had a training for liquid fuels, and I think I shared that with the board. And Keldine and Michelle, and there were several of staff that were at that meeting, and I understand from reviews, it was really well received. Thanks.
All right, Municipal Advisory Board.
No report.
You look like a deer in the headlights, Keldine.
Looking at me.
I didn't want to speak over anybody.
Yeah.
We have no report.
Okay, thank you. I think that's it. Do we have any additional public comment? Okay, and I don't believe, oh, Jim has more, okay.
Back and just comment that I went back through the packet that I received in the right to know request, and there was nothing in there in regards to the item that I mentioned before. So whatever you folks did, you did after the board packets were released, and that must have come to you as a supplemental or something, but it was not in the board packet that was released to the public.
If I could clarify. So I was out at a conference this week in Pittsburgh. And I did receive the proposals on Friday and did not have a chance to write a memo. There was a memo requested to be written. So I did do that this afternoon upon my return. And they had a printed copy in front of them this evening. That's why I read most of it, so that the public and the commissioners could hear it and have a chance to get that information. And that has since been emailed to you as well.
Somebody educate me more. I thought a right to know has to be like processed and evaluated. I didn't think, like you come into the township building or something and say, I want a right to know, and they just give you information. I didn't think it worked. I thought we were a little more careful than that.
You have an initial 5 business days to respond to a right to know request. And if a request asks for records that may be exempt from public disclosure or partially exempt from public disclosure, that has to be reviewed by staff and by the solicitor. Usually there's a 30-day extension invoked for that to occur. So it's ordinarily right to know requests are not responded to till approximately a month after they're submitted.
Thank you. I'm just astounded, and yet you're complaining about it, Jim. It sounds like you heard it tonight. So 4 days later than when it was put on the agenda. And I mean, I can give you my paper copy if you like. So anyway, okay. So I think we don't need another executive session. So we are adjourned. Thank you for coming out.
To adjourn.
Second.